Yeah.
But once again, we're down from 80 viewings to now talking about all we need is the right buyer, which could be 1 viewing, 2 viewings, 8 viewings, 10.
Yeah.
But you're not getting 80. So could you argue and could you say, have we faced, thanks to rates, are we now at the end of the correction? Are we at the end of the crash? Has this actually happened? Because now...
But we just didn't notice it because it wasn't so huge.
Well, because to us, prices, things seem to stand still.
Mm-hmm.
And prices... we're still in the shock and awe of these houses are too expensive.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Halifax Real Estate Podcast. I am your host, Jason Paul, licensed realtor, team lead at the Infinity Real Estate Group at eXp Realty in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And I'm here to help you gain a better understanding of real estate in Halifax. Hit that subscribe button, and the Halifax Real Estate Podcast is now on Discord, where I break down our upcoming guests, topics, and hopefully create a little more engagement with you guys so you can have your questions answered as well. Now back to the show. Will the Halifax real estate market crash? Has it already crashed? Have buyers been overpaying for houses in Halifax over the last 3 years to create a housing bubble that could pop at any minute? Richard Payne is back on the Halifax Real Estate Podcast with me to break down why Halifax's bubble may have already popped and why there may not be a bubble to begin with. Enjoy. Hey Richard, how are you?
Good, Jason. How's life?
Good. Welcome back.
Yeah, it's not been that long, so we're recording in advance.
Quick turnaround.
Yes, exactly.
We came up with this topic today because it's fun. It's fun.
We want sensationalism.
That's it.
That's what we want.
So I'll put it to you first.
Yeah.
Will the Halifax real estate market crash?
Do you want the easy answer?
No. We're here for a podcast.
Well, the simple answer is no. The question of why we answer no, that's going to be the rest of the podcast, isn't it? Clearly. Yeah. There you go. So the simple answer is no.
Okay, but then has it crashed?
Doesn't feel like it to me. So I looked at saying, well, okay, what is a crash? Like, define what means a market crash.
Now, I'm going to preface this.
Yeah.
I'm going to set us up.
Yeah.
Right? Because the reason we're talking about this is because we've seen in the last 2 years, 3 years since COVID, right? You always see the social media content, the curation of this conversation on Reddit, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook of this isn't a bubble. We're in a housing bubble.
Yeah.
People are paying over the asking because of Ontario and BC. They don't understand what the values are. They don't understand the Nova Scotian market. They will come to rue the day that they spent $100K over asking on this house on Quimple Road in Halifax. They will come to rue the day they spent $150K on this house on Pleasant Street, downtown Dartmouth. They will come to rue the day they spent $200K over asking on this house in Hammonds Plains. Oceanfront, Peggy's Cove, out that way, they'll rue the day.
Yeah.
When interest rates come, when they go up, which they inevitably will, the market will correct. We'll go back down to prices from we saw in 2019.
Right.
We heard it.
We did hear it.
We engaged with it.
A little bit. Little bit.
We ignored it.
Mostly.
We laughed about it.
Possibly. Yeah.
And we talked shit about it.
Yes. Because, I mean, that's the biggest thing. As soon as we see prices go up by like 35 to 40% over 2 years, everybody is going to say, oh my God, that can't be right. Yeah. Like, there's got to be a bubble. It's going to burst. Just wait and see. And at the same time, yes, interest rates are no longer like 1 point something percent or 2 point something percent. We're in fives. Yeah. Maybe even sixes, depending on
6.3 is variable still.
Exactly. So we're pretty high, and Bank of Canada, give them a week or so, end of January, they've got an announcement, another one in March and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see what they do. But the weird thing is, all of these interest rate hikes haven't actually had a major effect on prices in Nova Scotia. Now, I don't know about like Toronto and Vancouver and all these major cities, because let's be honest, if you talk national housing market, it's Toronto and BC. Vancouver. Yep. Like, that's the national market. You know, if Halifax goes up by 35%, we don't really budge the national Canadian averaging house prices.
No.
Because Nova Scotia went up 35%. We're a blip in the proverbial ocean, so to speak.
There's a reason those two markets sold their properties and came to us.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the biggest thing, is when you look at, has the increase in interest rates actually affected the prices here in Nova Scotia? The answer over the last 2-3 years is nope.
You don't think so?
People are still buying houses.
They've always bought houses throughout.
They've always bought houses throughout, and they're still buying them now. Like, I did a couple of Instagram reels real quick because I'm like, this is odd. Like, we're at the start of January. House got listed in Hammond's Plains.
Yeah.
Fairly high price point. We may as well say it, $790.
Okay.
Split entry, very nice. Like, no doubt, very nice. I make an appointment. It got listed on a Friday. I go in Sunday, do a virtual tour for my clients who are moving here from Alberta. So I'm like, well, look, before you get on the plane and come here, let's at least get like 2 or 3 options. Because I don't want you to come here and like, and got one house.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a waste in a plane ticket. So we do a virtual tour, we go through it. And as I'm walking out at 12 noon on Sunday, you get the message from the agent.
Offer.
Just to let you know, we've got an offer. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. Because I looked on Saturday, and there was a viewing Saturday afternoon, Sunday morning, me, and then somebody after me.
So out of 4 viewings.
So 4 viewings.
25%.
Exactly. And they get the offer. So the weird thing is like, okay, they got the offer. Like, we decided to like, okay, we're not going to buy this. We're not in 2021, 22 where it's sight unseen anymore. So thanks very much, we'll pass. But just like, I'm going to follow it now to see what happens. And I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting. That was pretty quick. Chances are it's going to go full ask price, $790. And that's just on the 7th of January.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so yeah, maybe it's one off. Oh, no. Happened again. Went to see a property yesterday in Grand Lake. We were meant to be seeing it yesterday afternoon. Had to go in on Tuesday because it got listed on Monday. Somebody saw it Monday afternoon or Tuesday morning. Get the message from the agent. Just to let you know, we've got an offer. Do you want to come in early? Okay, we'll come in early. And this was a $690,000 bungalow with a basement in Grand Lake. So these aren't cheap houses.
No, they've been. We just did market review, and which came out yesterday.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah.
And in that podcast, we talk about how slow it was for those price points.
So this is a 790 and a 690. Both of them within 2 days. Offers conditional. So the sellers accepted the offers.
Yeah. I
know that they weren't multiple offers, so I would be amazed if they went for over asking price, because why would you go over asking if you're the only offer? That makes no sense.
Probably a 10, 20K haircut.
Maybe.
Somewhere in there.
My expectation is both of these just went, okay, it's worth that price. We list like price. It. Here's the money.
Okay.
We'll give you full list. Now we'll see in 14 days, 10 days, whatever it is, when it goes. But that tells me that there is still the appetite for those value of houses. Now, one of those houses was listed a year and a half ago for 510. And they withdrew from the market because it was conditionally sold SOBP, and the SOB fell apart. So their SOB fell apart, and therefore they didn't sell.
Okay.
So that's only a year and a half ago. We went from 510 to 690.
And got it.
And they got the 690, I think. We'll find out.
You'll find out.
But I'm not doing like, looking at 50 houses a week. I'm looking at like 5 or 6 houses a week.
Yeah.
So in 2 weeks, I've looked at, let's say, 14 houses. And 2 of them, within 2 days, both went conditional.
Okay.
So tell me the prices are going to go down. No. And these must be people that are buying at today's mortgage rate. Unless they're all cash. I don't know. But they're using, I would expect.
Be amazing if they're today's mortgage rate. Or because there's a lot of speculation now about rates coming down.
Yes.
They might be hedging their bets.
So that's what I'm saying kind of on the
variable
Instagram story is if you're a buyer in today's market, we can't guarantee, but we think interest rates are going to come down. So you can do one or two things. You can wait till the interest rates come down, in which case I think there'll be a lot of competition.
100%. Yeah.
From buyers, all clambering over properties. Now, yes, we're getting more properties listed, so that's a good thing. We talked in the last one about we're up to like nearly 3 months of inventory, so there is more choice in houses. So you can wait for interest rates to come down, and now you're going to be competing against other people. Will we get into multiple offers? I don't think so, because there is enough houses, I think. But that's not to say we don't go back to multiple offers. Will it be as crazy as 21 and 22? Don't think so.
I don't think it'd be crazy as 22.
No, but you might get like, 2 offers on a house, say,
yeah,
and people have to fight over it. Maybe it goes over asking, whatever.
4 to 5, I think, is the realm.
Yes.
If let's say it comes down to full percent, which we talked about this at the end of our last podcast, right? If it comes down that full percentile, you're going to get back into, depending on pricing.
Absolutely.
Price,
4, condition, 5, location.
4, 5, 6 offers.
Yeah.
It's interesting you bring up that because I We're back from vacation, right? Holiday season, and there's always that we know when you get back to work, and we're self-employed. There's no one there to crack. You have Jane, I have Anna. Wives help. Yeah,
always.
But I always take a week or two to get going again. So I said Monday, this past Monday, we're recording on Thursday. Yeah, was my week. I'm back. I'm gonna book some viewings. I'm gonna write some offers. I showed 2 houses and a plot of land this week. Yeah, all 3 under contract.
There you go.
All 3. Yeah. And
but also that's at today's pricing. Yeah. So when we talk about is there a crash coming, are we going to crash? Our price is going to come down. Certainly for the first 2 weeks in January, you're like, no.
Well, this is the interesting about a crash, right? Because I've looked, we track the stats. Yes. Right. Yeah. The crash always is December. It's 9 times out of 10, December is it's August and December, your 2 lowest price points of the year every year, which means if you're buying in July and November, because it's always 30 days unless you have cash. Yeah. Yeah. Then those 2 months you should be buying your place to get the best deal possible. Right. Right. Yeah. And then I always find January, February, March, it just ramps up into spring where the prices come back up.
Because spring is our crazy market traditionally, where everybody decides to want to list their houses because they want to close in May-ish. Yeah. Well, snow's gone,
or
grass is green.
Or they want to close at the end of June because the school season's over. Yeah. And they don't want to disrupt the kids. Exactly. So they're shopping in April, May to close in June. Yeah. And enjoy the summer and then go back and then start the new school in September. Yeah. 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 So that's the interesting thing that I've been looking at is I haven't seen, and I was expecting last year, a big chunky decrease in the average price point. And I'm like, nope, didn't happen. There was 1 month that I can't remember 1 month. And I was like, oh my God, we went from 580 to 640. And I was like, what month was that? Because I was like, oh yeah, we're flatlining, or we're going to kind of just go 5 or 10,000 up and down over and below the average price, and then all of a sudden we hit 640. I was like, when did that happen? I got them here. I got the stats again. Yeah. If you're talking about a crash in 2023, our highest price point, and once again, we're going to make this clear. You're talking about 640. We both use market stats on MLS. Yeah. You use median. I use average. Yeah. Right? They're 2 different stats. You can click a button. Yeah. The average highest price point was April 23 at $600K.
There you go.
The lowest price point for the entire year was November 23 at $529. December was $534, so $5K difference. Yeah. Right? If you're talking about a crash, and you're actually want to go hunt for when the lowest price point was, because we started this whole thing in May 2020 at I think we said it was 360 or something. I got it here.
Yeah, it was mid threes.
It was mid threes. Yeah. Let's just go with mid threes. I don't want to go back that far. But then it went rise, and their peak was 607, 608 in April 2022. But then they introduced the first rate hike in March 2022. Right. Right? Yeah. At the end of March that year. If you go to August 2022, which was April, May, June, July, 5 months, 4 or 5 months later, at the peak, 482. It dropped 130K. Yep. That would have been your crash.
Yeah, to go down that much.
To go down that much in 4 to 5 months. Yeah. If you're talking about a crash and saying prices are coming back down, they're going to come back down. Yeah. That would have been your crash. Now, if you're looking again further on down the line, that was August 2022. In December 2022, it came back 482. So at August 2022, it was at 482. It went up to 525 in October 2022. December 2022 went down to 482. January 23, 547.
Ooh, 60K.
70K increase from month to month. Yeah. So if you're talking about a crash and saying if prices are coming back down from what they were, that would have been your 2 crashes.
And they would have stayed low.
And they should have stayed low. Yeah. They should have maintained the 500K in and around the 500K area, and that would have been your reset. But now we're seeing up and down.
It's like bouncing around.
Yeah.
It's a little bit up, a little bit down, a little bit up, a little bit down. It's not staying down.
I'm going to reposition this, right? Because we're talking about what we're experiencing today.
Yes.
When people were talking about the crash and it coming, why was our industry and we as realtors confident that a crash wasn't going to come? Because let's be frank here, we're biased. We sell these things.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So why is it when most of the social media world and commentators and speculators are screaming there's a crash or a correction. Correction is a much better word than crash.
Yeah.
There's a correction coming for these obscene prices that we've never seen historically in our life.
Yeah.
Why were we confident that it was not going to be as bad as predicted?
Yeah. So when I looked at like 5-6 years ago, you know, because I'm 12 years into this now, like I remember our average being 320,000. And everybody was used to that, and that was just the average.
And
it
never moved.
No, it just hovered.
Like it'd be like a $2,000 because I got licensed in 2017.
Yeah.
So I'm 6.5. I'll be 7 years in March or April. And it always moved, but it moved by like $2,000 up, $2,000 down, $4,000 up, you know what I mean? It just hovered. It
was small changes.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing pretty large swings from a month to month basis that we never really had. So in my world, I looked at that, especially going back that far to looking at where we are today. And I was just like, I just think Halifax has been so undervalued, fundamentally undervalued for a long time.
Well, that was 17, 18, 19 before 2020. That was always the conversation at the office. And we were both at Keller Williams at the time. So we both would go in the office and talk to other realtors about business. And that was always the conversation of comp is, don't worry about pricing.
Yeah.
We're undervalued. The whole city is undervalued. We should be, based on the rest of the country. It was always like, everyone would always say like 450 as like where
we should
really have been in that time for what we were offering. Everyone just felt we were 100K down.
Yeah.
Or 125 or 150K down from what we should have been.
Yeah.
And then
all of a sudden, something unexpected happened and we went crazy. Which definitely, when you look at those hikes in price, you were like, those were just mad. Like, it was that fundamentally correct to be going up that high that fast?
Do you remember 2019 and what that market was like? Do you like, because I remember it as like, it was like the canaries in the coal mine. It was just, you could feel it. You could just feel it start to like move. And we had, you may remember this, you may not. At Keller, we had this monthly sales meeting where we talked about all the sales that the brokerage did. Yeah. And I never went to them. I never went. But I went to one. And our broker at the time at Keller, Anna Silva, who I love Ann. Yeah. Still love her today. I remember it was the June-July one. And the reason I went was because I was my first time ever in competition in downtown Dartmouth, Pleasant Street. Right. And I'll never forget, I lost by $75K over asking. in 2019. So
by just a little bit.
In 2019. And I offered asking.
Yeah. And you were like, this is crazy. I'm offering asking.
And I went to the office when I found out, and I ran into you, and I ran into someone else. It might have been Jamie Green. And I explained what happened, and you and Jamie were like, that won't happen again. That's you ran into like
famous last words.
You ran into like the stupid, because we were saying it, the stupid buyer overpaid for this stupid house in Pleasant Street, Dartmouth. Like, someone's from Ontario's on something hilarious. Let's laugh about it at the water cooler. Yeah. And I remember we did the sales meeting, because I went being like, did anyone else just get, quite frankly, like buried by a pile of cash? Yeah. And at that meeting had started explaining, touched on competition, because it was just coming. Right. People were getting into 2-3s, and we were talking about, and she was trying to talk about how to navigate it. I'll never forget what she said. She said, "Don't worry. It's not gonna be like Toronto. It's not gonna be like BC. It's not gonna be like this. It's just a moment in our careers where we have to deal with this and learn how to navigate that. So talk to your broker team. We'll teach you how to navigate competition." Yeah. And then it took off. Yeah, 2020 came along and we were like, whoa, like, this is silly. Which then gets you into the question of, when we moved into, I've looked at the stats, 2018, 2019, HRM as a whole for the year went up $10,000. Yeah. In 2020, we were going up $10,000 a month in price. right? Just roll. It was like on average, it went up 10K, 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 10K. So that's when you start. I was worried we were in a bubble. I was terrified. I had to call people in economics and email professors in economics at universities to be like, can you please explain to me what a bubble is so I can like make sure I'm not ruining the lives of all my clients.
That's fair ass. Yeah, that's fair.
Right? And like try and figure out how to justify it, because you hear the talk.
Yeah.
And I'm still pretty young. And I remember being like, is we in a bubble?
Yeah.
Are we? So like when you're looking at it now, and I'm going to re-ask the question, what made you confident throughout that run? Because it's a 3-year run now of it being crazy. In that 3-year run, what made you confident that we're good?
I just kept looking at the underlying fundamentals of what Halifax economically had to offer people. So when you start looking at things like the unemployment, like that was pretty low. When you start looking at the availability of houses to rent, that was non-existent. There was nowhere you could rent. When you look at all of the other fundamentals of why somebody would move to Halifax, that's what I've always seen as strong compared to some of the other factors that you could say, okay, well, this is why it's a bubble. But also for me, I kept looking at some of the prices going, okay, is it fair? Like ignore all of the 8-9 years of history that you've got of dealing with $300,000 average pricing. If somebody came to you today and said, okay, for what the city, the town, and Nova Scotia as a province has to offer as a lifestyle, as an employment, as an education, as everything else that you want from living in an area, does that house for like 2,900 square feet for this much money, does it make sense? If you objectively looked at that house, knowing what you do about other provinces potentially as well, does that house make sense? And that's when I kept coming back to going, I think we have just been very underpriced for a long time, just because COVID did that one thing, which was really highlight the ability for people to, number one, work from home.
Yes.
But also, you didn't have to live in Toronto. You don't have to live in Vancouver or Calgary or wherever else. It basically made people more mobile. And I think they started looking at Halifax going, wait a minute. I'm a roughly 45-minute drive to the ocean in HRM.
From anywhere in
I
the
could
province.
potentially be living on a lake for a certain amount of money instead of having to go, well, okay, kids, pack everything up. We've got to go to a cottage and maintain a cottage and a house. I could kind of have the house on the lake. Yes, we don't have major hockey center. We don't get a lot of rock concert bands and all of those kind of things. We don't have CFL. We don't have some of those other things. My fingers are crossed that the city's going to make decisions and be sensible about putting money into that kind of infrastructure improvements.
Yeah.
Because if HRM is roughly about 500,000 people right now.
Yeah.
If they say we want to be 1 million people in 15 years, I'm like, well, you better put some stuff there that people
want to do.
Because that, to me, is one of the major criticisms of HRM.
Yeah.
Is that, you could easily go to places in Vancouver, in Edmonton, and in Toronto, or
Montreal.
in Hamilton, Montreal, Ottawa, all these like big, well-known city names. And you're like, I can see Taylor Swift just because she's on my brain because the kids are going nuts about her all the time. But I could go and watch a CFL game. I could watch a hockey game. I can go and watch baseball, basketball.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but Halifax wants to play at being this big city, and we don't have those things. So my only real concern over the next 10 years is if you want to keep growing and attracting these people to come and live in Nova Scotia, we have to start looking at those things.
Well, here's the other question, though, and the caveat of that is if we want to keep growing, how does that impact the housing bubble? Because if we're talking about, I'm not going to get into the housing crisis because that's a different kind of thing, right? But we're tackling bubble, right? And if house prices are sustainable, if they can be sustainable, and if we're actually all going to face the doom of a horrible recession where all of our house prices plummet in a fiery death, right? So if we're talking about that, the first
thing, very
thing
descriptive, by the way.
I'm trying
plunging into a fiery death. My God.
I'm trying to paint a picture of what was painted to us.
Right. Got it. Okay. Fine. Yeah.
We were all fine. We were like, no, it's fine.
Yeah, we're good.
But you think about back 2020 was the thing that shocked the industry was the rates.
Right.
It was. I
Yes.
think we were giving out 2.5, 2 3/4.
Really low.
And then one day it was like, no, we're dropping this down to 2 to 1.8, so that we can. They always say stimulate the economy, keep the economy burning.
Exactly.
That was free money, and a lot of people got into the market.
Yeah.
As speculators, investors.
Yes.
You started hearing you started getting all the podcasts. I was one of them, of real estate investors doing great things and building passive income and wealth through the power of real estate, whether it's a bird, buy and sell, flip, house hacking, or, pick one of your keywords and plug it into how you make money in real estate.
Right.
That took away our supply.
Yes.
But the rates still kept getting lower.
Yeah.
Which allow more people to leverage. So I can buy this house in 2020. It's going up $10K a month. In a year's time, I'll have $120K equity. I can pull that equity out in a 1 point, which is at a lower rate than what I purchased.
Yep.
Then that gives me cash that's not taxed because it's debt. I can rent out this place to service the debt, and I can use this cash to buy a new place that I can rent and repeat, which people were doing very, very well.
Yes.
Which then only implemented and took away from the market.
Yep.
So then it comes to the question of, if the market is going to crash, what does it take, in your opinion, for the market to crash? What has to happen for the Halifax real estate market to actually crash and become? Because if we're talking about why it hasn't, then what key figures and what key variables do we need for us as realtors to be like, oh, it's crashing?
Yeah, if we see that happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the first thing we have to see is a lot of inventory.
Supply.
Like we would need more. We would need like 1,000 to 1,500 houses
overnight
for sale
overnight,
because at the higher interest rates. So if they stay where they're at, and then all of a sudden we throw an extra double the amount of houses that are for sale, there isn't double the amount of buyers right now with the interest rates this high that would be like, fine.
Yeah,
I've now got those options. So I think that's one factor, is we would need a lot of housing to come onto the market pretty quickly. The second thing is, I think we would need a fairly big increase in unemployment, which would literally stop people from being able to do anything.
And immigration.
And immigration to stop as well.
Because the one thing no one realizes is that creep up to 2020, when we talk about like when it took off.
Yep.
Nova Scotia broke its immigration record every year from 2016 to 2020.
There you go.
And no one talks about that. We're like, because it takes years to see the impact of that.
Absolutely.
But every year, if you go back to the records, every year we broke our immigration record.
Yeah. And also we've been having a lot of migration back here as well.
Yes, from away.
From away.
Because when I graduated high school in 2010, we were told you have to leave to make money.
Yeah.
We were all, my whole school was told, like, if you want to make money and, have a certain lifestyle, you got to go to Toronto or Vancouver or Montreal or out west to the oil fields.
Yes.
And you'll get paid. And then you can make your money in 10, 15 years and come home.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of coming home migration. There was also a lot of migration
in general.
In general, from outer provinces to Halifax in 2020, 2021, because COVID highlighted us because you can go outside and eat.
Yes.
Remember that when we were like the safest place in the world?
Absolutely. Yeah. We shut our place down pretty fast and did a really good job of managing that.
Yeah, but we could go outside and not many other places, which I think also put a highlight on us.
Absolutely.
Also the home prices, because we weren't, even at 2020 prices, we were still at 4. Yeah. Tell that to Ontario.
Yeah, who was selling at 1 point something million.
Yeah.
For half the size of the house.
So you think, fundamentally speaking, it's supply and demand at its core.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, and then the other economic factors are people need to earn money. We need the migration and the immigration coming in. Those are kind of the key things that I'm like, okay, if we start seeing a lot more supply and we see people getting unemployment, so in other words, not jobs, then we will start to struggle.
How? Okay, here's the question. Supply.
Yes.
Because we talk about supply, and we've brought this up on the market review in 2023.
Yeah.
At the worst of the market, the peak was February 2022 or April 2022, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Supply was below 200 homes or 200 units in all of HRM, right? When the market was dead in 2018-19, and dead, I'm using air quotes because no one can see me doing it.
I can see them.
Yeah, you can see them. But when it was dead back then, the market had 4,000 units.
Right.
So when we had a flat buyer's market that wasn't really ticking, it was 4,000 units for sale in HRM at a given time. I'd go back to like, how the hell did you ever sell your house trying to stick out from 4,000
Yeah, there's your competition.
Yeah. Right? Well, we went down to 200, and the rates worked. You want to talk about calming supply? We're now back at 1,000.
Yeah.
So rates have worked in getting supply back.
Yeah.
Which we'd say is 1,000 homes enough.
Well, given that the rates are high, 1,000 homes is enough, in theory, to make things sensible, and we're not getting multiple offers.
Okay.
Because right now, I haven't done a multiple or seen or received a multiple offer in quite a few months.
The last.
Like, have you been part of one recently?
The last multiple I was in, I think October, November.
Right.
Somewhere around there. I'm pretty sure it was like mid to late October, and that was in Kings County.
Right.
Which has less homes for sale.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I know of one that I think it was actually the start of December that was in Schwartzwald in Fall River.
Yeah.
And it was a like $239,000, maybe $249,000 house.
Oh, that's getting multiples because of the price.
Yeah.
I don't care.
And in location.
Yeah.
But it didn't sell for like 400. It sold for like 340. So it definitely went over asking.
It's 100K over asking.
Yeah. But it wasn't like, oh my God, you know. Now, yes, because of the price, because of the location, there was something like 17 offers.
Yeah, but here's the other thing that our industry did, which was, you could call it shitty because it was shitty. We were underpricing purposely.
Yeah,
we were like,
there was quite a few of those.
There was so much time where you could, in that market of the peakness and the stupidity of 21, 22, where you would get an agent listing a house like it's 2019.
Yeah,
and you would try and tell your client it's gonna go for 100K over, not because it's not worth it, but because this person has advertised it.
Yeah,
to get offers to tell their client what a good job they did.
Yes,
in marketing.
Yeah. There was definitely houses where you knew people were agents playing the game deliberately to then be able to kind of profess to the world, oh, I got 15 offers, 150,000 over asking price.
Instagram post.
Yeah.
Boosted.
Oh, God, they were everywhere.
Yeah, they were everywhere. My client got 22 offers. If you want this kind of service, work with me today.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, your average price point in North End Halifax is $500,000 and you priced it $2,999.
Yeah.
And you got $450.
Yeah.
Do you think you did right by your client?
Yeah. I mean, the other flip side of that is, do we really need 22 offers? Like, in today's market right now, I get into that conversation with sellers where I'm like, we don't need 22 offers. We don't need 5 offers. We need one offer within a sensible amount of time that is a price that we're all really happy about getting.
Now, here's the thing, though, and this goes back to the question at hand and the topic at hand. We've gone from 22, because at the peak of the market was 30, 40 offers, right? Because that was the nonsense of it, right? The highest I competed against, I've said it on this podcast now, it was in the 50s, though. It was something stupid.
Yeah, I never got into ones that were that much. Mine was always teens. You were into silly numbers.
I was in the first time home buyer bracket.
Right.
That whole market was...
And everybody was in that bracket.
Everybody was in that bracket. Yeah. So that was my market at the time. But here's the thing, though. You could argue, right? We've gone from that many multiples, let's just say 20.
Yeah.
To now we're okay with 1.
Mm-hmm.
Would that not be indication of a crash and or correction?
Depends a lot on that offer. So if that offer, go back to the 2 that I just did where I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
If they came in and they were listed at $789 and they get one offer from one viewing and it's at $789, the seller would be like, brilliant.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. Because here's the other factor. A lot of sellers sometimes get into this is not going to be straightforward. You could be on the market for, on average, 32 days, which is what it is right now. You could be looking at anywhere from 0 showings to 15 to 20 showings before you actually get an offer now.
Yeah.
Well, that's 15 times you need to get your house ready and have it ready in the almost like the drop of a hat for someone to come in and look at it. At least in the previous ones, you were like, okay, we're listing on a Thursday, all offers are to be in by a Sunday or a Monday or whatever you want. And you would literally be talking to your sellers to say, my suggestion, go on a long 4 or 5 day vacation somewhere, you know?
And
hope it's got Wi-Fi and you can still work, kind of thing.
That was a thing.
That was absolutely
a thing in 20...
Because you said, I'm not going to be the one that's literally every 5 minutes pinging you on text saying, viewing, another viewing, another viewing.
If you were in a good location, you were reasonably finished, like a decent house, and you in 2022, you'd be like, hey, I need you to leave, like, book an Airbnb for 5 nights because I'm going to have... we're gonna have 80 viewings.
Yeah.
But once again, we're down from 80 viewings to now talking about all we need is the right buyer, which could be 1 viewing, 2 viewings, 8 viewings, 10.
Yeah.
But you're not getting 80. So could you argue and could you say, have we faced, thanks to rates, are we now at the end of the correction? Are we at the end of the crash? Has this actually happened? Because now...
But we just didn't notice it because it wasn't so huge.
Well, because to us, prices, things seem to stand still.
Mm-hmm.
And prices were still in the shock and awe of these houses are too expensive. These units are too expensive. This is too much for Halifax.
Yeah.
So if you're still in the shock and awe of 3 years of, I can't believe it sold for that. If you've just been saying that about every sale for 3 years, well, if you're in the mindset of everyone's crazy and stupid, rates are going to go up further, and then market's going to come down. Well, if you're in that cycle, then you're always going to believe that. I can't believe someone paid $200,000 for or $400,000 for this house when in 2002 in Cole Harbor they were selling it $98,000, and you're like, that was 19 years ago, but no, 20 years ago. We're in 2024 now. But when you think about it in that way, are we just not used, like, have we not just said, oh, this is now what it is?
I think a lot of people now have gone, okay, this is what it is. Like, our average prices today are our average prices today. You can't go back and go, well, let's go back to the good old days of 2017 and 18.
Well, when's the best time to buy a house?
The best time was like 2017, 2018. When's the best time? Well, it's right now. Because we know that, yes, the appreciation, I'm sure, has absolutely slowed down in people's houses.
100%.
So, yeah, you can't buy a house today and next year we go, wow, we made $100,000.
Yeah.
Like, those days have definitely passed. But we always know that you're going to get mortgage reduction because you're going to be paying a mortgage. So the value of the money that you have to have as equity in your house is going to grow just by the fact that if it stays the same and you're there for 5 years, the amount of gap between how much you got to pay off the mortgage and the price of the house has grown.
Yes.
Now, it's not as a result of the house price growing. It's a result of you paying down the mortgage. But there's still an equity gap there that says, well, okay, in X number of years, I've made $65,000 on my house, or 20 or 190 or whatever the number's going to be.
Yeah.
So at least you can be like, okay, but it's a safe, steady place to actually, because guess what? We all need roofs over our heads. And at least if you can get into that market today, we are hopeful interest rates are going to go in one direction now, which is gradually
down.
Slow.
Yeah.
They're going to go down. So if they're going down, well, okay, now your mortgage becomes more affordable.
If you're on variable.
Unless
you locked into fixed.
Exactly. If you went fixed, you'd be like, ooh, this is going to burn for 5 years.
Which if you locked into fixed now, no one can see the face.
Richard's scrunched up like, don't do that. Yeah.
If you're buying a house, like it's interesting, right? Because the argument like fixed was the disease for the last 2 years or a year and a half. Like don't go fixed. Anyone on fixed is, paying their, you know what I mean? They're losing their asset, their hat, their home, whatever it is. And now it's like, okay, well, if you're gonna buy a house now, we're speculating.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big word.
Yeah.
Speculating that
we are not mortgage brokers or financial advisors.
Rates are coming down. Well, would you be a fool to go? But variable's still high. You can get fixed at 5.
Exactly. It's all a game of trade-off now.
Yeah.
Like, for this, especially this full 2024 calendar year, it's like, we just don't know what the mortgage rates are going to do.
Which goes back to my point of, have we crashed? Is it over?
Has it been done?
Did we see it and just not? Because now, if rates are going down, we said this in 2020 in the 2023 review. But if rates go down, more buyers come back. More buyers have more purchasing power. If more buyers have more purchasing power, more buyers are back in the market.
Yeah.
That supply of 1,000 homes, which is we've done really well to get back and claw back from the market.
Yeah.
Where do they go? Because we can't build enough quick enough.
True.
Right, so we're talking about the fundamental thing of supply and demand, which is the whole point of a market crash, right? Well, if that's all there and people get more spending power and more people come back to the market and then supply gets eaten away, then how do we not fall back into a 2022? Now, rates they're not handing out 1.5 again.
True. It's not free money anymore.
So it won't be that. But they hold it 4.5, which I think is a healthy rate.
Yeah.
It should be enough to say you won't see too much volatility anymore.
Right.
Hopefully. Right.
Yep.
But this goes back to the point of the whole point of the whole topic is, have we crashed, or has it crashed, or have we just figured out where we're landing, and have we even landed?
Yeah. I think my feeling is we've figured out where's sensible, given everything that Halifax has to offer and given the price and the square footage and the condition of the house in that location.
Yeah.
It feels like we're kind of going, everybody's like, okay, we understand now. We're not paying $300,000, we're paying $600,000. But we're kind of like happy where that is, in the fact that we're not sitting here with like no house sales. Because that's the other factor is, if everybody felt that all the house prices were way too expensive, well, there's an easy solution to that. Nobody would buy a house. Everyone would be like, we'll just stay where we are. We'll buy a house. We'll just stay here.
And we did see that, though. There was a period of time, summer 2022, where after the first 2 or 3 rate hikes had gone into effect, you did get that feeling that
everybody said, whoa,
hold on, we're gonna pause. We're gonna take a break from this because we don't know what's happening. The messaging of media is real estate's a bad time because you know we're uncertainty about rates and stuff. So like this is where I'm trying to say is, like, was that the crash? Have we experienced it? Have we gone through it? And now are we on the other side of it? Because if we're talking about that, we're talking about the rewards of a recession.
Yeah. That's the next thing that people are asking about.
Yeah. Is there a recession? Well, okay. Recession by definition is 2 negative quarters.
Yeah.
Right? By definition. We just had 2 negative quarters in Canada. So now we're like, in
nobody's
a recession,
saying it, but
right?
We are.
So if we're in a recession, have we bottomed out? You know, and these are all theoretical things that I'm pitching out loud because this is the topic. But it's like, okay, well, if we bottomed out, then what happened? Because were we actually in a bubble? Ultimately, what do you think? Were we in a bubble? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. Because it's just all of the activity and all of the stuff that we've seen with people buying and selling houses and all this kind of stuff. There's never been that point where, houses have literally just sat on the market and gone, well, okay, we're just never going to be able to sell. We'll just stay on the market and there is no buyers and there's been zero activity. So that's why I keep kind of looking at everything we've got that's going on right now with just the first 2 weeks in January as well. And I'm going, all it's going to take is the interest rates to drop down. And we are not going to go crazy like we did back in 21 and 22. But it's going to get fast and furious again. And it's going to be that like, you know what? We might have 4 houses to look at, but if you like one of them, you better get your offer in. Yeah. Like, we're not like, can we go back and look for it a second time, like in 3 days? Nope.
Well,
because we won't be there.
That's been the last few months. Fall market was.
Yeah, well, you had some time.
You had some time. You could.
So that's the weird thing with January, and that's why I was like, whoa, wait a minute, this has happened to me twice now. So I think the other problem as well is there is an awful lot of buyers, and they're all searching for the same thing:
a house.
But also like at a certain condition, at a certain price. And maybe in a certain location.
I'll tell you an anecdote that I didn't mention at the beginning when you're talking about your experience this week.
Yeah.
I've got a listing. We talked about it already. $700,000, somewhere in that price point in Chester.
Yeah.
Still in the market. SOBP sale right now. Still going through that. Monday hit. My first day back in real estate was like, I'm selling houses again. 3 viewings and 3 agents calling about it.
Yeah.
And I haven't had any activity on that place since November, because the market dies in December. But just like it was like it's like the lights went on.
Yeah,
where you get, hey, I have a buyer that's interested. Can you tell me more information? Hey, I have a buyer that's interested at our province. Can you tell me more information? Yeah. Hey, I've got this, and then 3 viewings, and you're like, oh,
yeah, here we go.
Okay, like we're up again. But that's interesting to me because that place has been slow because of the price point.
Right.
I've probably got the equivalent of activity in the last week, and it's 4 days into the week. So in the last 4 days, I've got more activity in that place than I have probably all of November and half of October.
Yeah.
right? So you're in a sense of like you maybe feel, and in sense of what you're saying is like, is this an anomaly in terms of how active the buyers are?
Yeah.
Or is this confidence going into the 2024 year calendar year saying, well, we see the messaging, we hear the podcast, we listen to the content, we see the conversations of rates are coming back down and I'm bringing it back into the market, which if that is the case, could you not argue that the Halifax market is healthy? If buyers are engaging with the market and sellers can sell a house, is that not the definition of a healthy real estate market?
Yeah, absolutely. And the biggest thing to look at then is also like in December, average price listed, average price sold was within like a couple of $100 of each other.
Yeah.
So you were at, if you list at 500, chances are you're going to sell for $500.
$500. $500,000.
Yeah, $500 we wish. So that's another definition of like what is a healthy market when you have accurate pricing that a buyer is willing to pay.
Yes.
And everybody goes, that makes sense. I'm good with that.
That's the definition of a balanced market.
Yeah.
Right? So when a balanced market is between 4 to 6 months of inventory,
a
buyer and seller can agree that that is an accurate price and they're willing to pay that price. Not more, not less. But we're not in a buyer's market and we're not in a balanced market. We're still sellers
because we're less than 5 months of inventory.
It's 4.
Yeah.
By statistically speaking, but we're still at 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, 2.5, somewhere in the 2 point, low 2 points something.
Yeah.
If that's the case, I'm gonna keep circling back because I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to really be like, have we crashed? Has it happened? Was it just a much softer landing?
I think that's the answer. It's more of a softer reduction in price as opposed to a full-on like, okay, month after month after month after month, the price is just coming down and houses are not being sold.
Because if you bought the peak, right, of $600K, right, in 2022, you're down, you're out of money. But are you? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like statistically speaking, the average home price is down to numbers. Average home price for December was $534. So you lost $70,000 or $65,000.
Right.
Okay. So but if you were to put your home up today, I'm confident that unless you're a very unique house in a unique location and a certain design, like I'm fairly confident you could probably get your money out, maybe break even.
Yes. I think that's the message for the last 3 years is it's not that straightforward to be able to make money whilst you were buying at the peak.
Yeah.
Like I think right now the answer is if you can break even, then you're good. I bought February 1st, 2022. Right, which actually is because the way real estate works, 30 to 60 days closing. The peak of the market was April 2022, which means everyone who bought in February was in the peak of the market. So I'm the definition of buying in the peak market. Definition. Yeah.
I'm up at least $150,000.
But you've renoed.
I've renoed, but
so you've forced it as well.
But that's not even if I'm talking about the renos. I'm probably up 2. I've forced it, but there are houses around me recently. So actually, I've got 1,200 square feet, 2-story home, acre of land, and I'm in Gasper Valley. I'm on like Wolfville's doorstep. I'm not in Wolfville, but I'm on the doorstep, right? I bought 230 in 2022. My neighbor must be like 800 square feet, maybe 9 at the most. Story, 1.5 story. Yeah. 3-bedroom, 1 bath, 6,000 square foot lot. In much worse shape. Wow. In much worse shape than mine. Yeah. Much worse. Like they have a foundation wall caving out. Yeah. They paid $230. Right. Even if I had done no renos. Yeah. I would have been worth more. Yeah. I would have automatically been worth more by that buy. Yeah. Around the corner for me. 700. I know for a fact this house was 700 square feet. 2-bedroom, 1 bathroom, 10,000 square foot lot. Yeah. 275. But the argument of if you bought at the peak, you've lost money. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because I can tell you I'm up. Yes. I'm up. And I'm not even in the busy part of Nova Scotia. I'm in Gasbro. I'm in Gasbro Valley. I'm not HRM. Yeah. I'm in Gasbro. Which is 45 to an hour outside of Halifax. Yeah. Well, if I'm up, right? Like, what does that mean? Did we have a correction?
Yeah, I think some of that is definitely like Valley versus HRM.
Yeah.
So like we've got a place in Bedford. Clients bought it for $875. We're listed now, and we've been listed since September, maybe October, and we're now $899.
Yeah.
So if they sell,
they're gonna, after real estate fees are out.
they're out,
Yeah.
and that's Parks of Bedford West.
Yeah. Which is desirable. Everyone
Absolutely.
loves Bedford West.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think it's almost not exactly case by case, but it's definitely area by area.
You could also argue it's price point. I'm in first time homebuyer price point.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm in that market.
Yeah.
And
we're not.
And we talked about this on the last episode.
Yeah.
Where 6, 7, 8, 9, a million is slow.
Yeah.
And has been slow.
Yeah.
So you could argue if you're up, you know what I mean? If the market corrects and has corrected or it's crashed, if you want to be dramatic.
Yeah.
Well, let's say the correction's 10%, right? If you're at the 200K price point, that's 20 grand. If you're at the $1 million price point, it's 100 grand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so it's all relative.
If you're talking about a correction, like,
Yeah.
you know, if I can argue I'm fine because of what's done in my area,
Yeah.
different market.
Yeah.
First time home buyer price point, which they couldn't get it anyway.
Yeah.
But now you're in the price brackets, right? Because I've got the same thing as you've got, where I've got I explained this on the last episode, my Chester Basin listing. We're probably going to break even, maybe take a little loss.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But that's because they're in the sevens.
Yeah.
If you're in the sevens, you know, is it slower? Is it dead?
Yeah.
What are we talking about here? You know what I mean? So like the argument of, I guess I'm not trying to say whether or not the market's crash or if it will crash. It's just I want to get into the topic to be like, what does this actually mean? What are we looking at? Because ultimately, I think you and I are in agreement. It's supply and demand.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's the whole point of this. And how do you, if you want to fix housing, you add supply.
Absolutely. You give people more choice. Yeah.
Which brings down rents or stabilizes rents and or stabilizes the housing. The reason why we can say the market's stabilizing is because as prices have dropped little by little, which like it sounds insane to say, a $70,000 decrease in pricing and the market's stable.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's a little odd.
But we're getting inventory back.
Yeah.
Little by little.
We're not flooded all of a sudden.
Right.
Which would be a tough thing to soak up anyway. You just want the gradual amounts of inventory.
Right.
So that buyers have choice.
Exactly. So if we're clawing this inventory back and by tooth and nail we're scrounging these houses back, well, okay, then I would say the market's actually healthy. Because as long as we're not losing inventory.
Yeah. And I think that's the definition is like, have we crashed? Maybe, but I think it was so soft that none of us kind of went, oh my God, we need to highlight this.
Now, we're not Ontario, Vancouver, because they've crashed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But also for us then, we've just become like just a lot more stable.
Yeah.
Because the instability we had was the 50 offers on a house, 200,000 over asking price. That was the instability. Now we're kind of like, no, like, you know, we know that if a house is listed at 500, I'm probably going to pay 500 for it.
Yeah.
If there's no other competition and nobody else is looking at it, it's been on the market, maybe I can get it for 475, 480, 490. Maybe I can get it for less. But it's just, everything is just a lot more steady.
It's steady.
That's the key thing.
Now here's the other question, right? Because we're disproving that maybe we've determined that it has crashed and we survived.
Past tense.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was so soft that we didn't notice it.
Right.
Horrendously.
Maybe that's what's happened.
Yeah.
The other thing here's my other question though. If for future, if this we get into this game again, what are you looking for to see if we're crashing or correcting? Yeah. Right? Because what signs, canary down the coal mines, are you going to see of being like, oh, we're in trouble again?
Yeah. So I think the first thing you got to look for is list price to sale price.
Yeah.
If you'll start to see like list price to sale prices like 90s, like 94, 92s, then we got a problem because that means that people are pricing stuff way high. On average, you know, this is obviously we're looking at however many houses have sold and we're doing an average of all of it. And again, it's area specific as well. So like the weirdest thing ever is, we're average, the whole of HRM is 100% sale to list price.
All of it.
But not if you go to Dartmouth. Dartmouth is 104%. And that's if you take all of the individual Dartmouth areas. So, you know, we've got like these MLS areas and funnily enough, it's weird because Halifax is very simple. You just take 4 areas and that's Peninsula and off you go.
Yeah.
And then there's Fairview and there's Spryfield and there's Clayton Park. So you can separate, for some reason, Dartmouth, I don't know why, you have to take like 14 areas and add them all together to get an average.
Yeah, because you got to take all of, it's like 10 to 17.
Exactly.
For those people in Paragon, our realtor website, when we search up areas, North End's 1.
Yeah.
No, North End's 3. Central Halifax is 1.
Yeah.
South End's 2. North End's 3. West End is 4.
Yeah. And then
5
is
to
Clayton
9.
Park, Rockingham.
Yeah. 6 is Fairview. 7 Spryfield. 8's Herring Cove.
Yeah.
Purcell's Cove. 9 is Sambro.
Yeah.
But 10 you hit Dartmouth, but 10's like
10 through to like 19.
10 through to like, I don't think 19 exists.
I don't think, no, but it used to.
But 10 through 17 is like downtown Dartmouth,
Cole
Eastern
Harbour,
Passage,
Village,
Cole Harbour, Kobe,
Calby,
Forest Hills,
Lawrencetown.
Like,
they're all added
They're all in there.
Yeah, you just have to add them all up to go, well, this is Dartmouth.
And this is why I love you, because you are actually the cycle that will go in
and just go, hang on a minute.
What's like you like the fact that you can rattle off what Dartmouth's list of sale prices for all of Dartmouth means. I know you were.
I was curious in December.
You were at your computer for an hour and a half, maybe drinking a cocoa.
Hang on a minute. Like if we talk Dartmouth, so I think that's the thing. It's like it's all generals that we're trying to average and stuff. But if you see that things are starting to get into the like 97s, 95s, 94% sale to list price, then number one, we've got a problem with pricing. But number two, we're also going to see a lot lowball offers, which means there must be lots of inventory out there that people are looking at.
Yeah, which means you're getting back supply. The only way you can get 90, 92, 94%, right, on sale to list. Now, sale to list, for those people listening, sale to list is I put up my house for sale for $100K. Mm-hmm. I sold it for 92, which is 92%.
Yep.
That's sale to list.
Yep.
So if you're seeing 92% on a sale to list, then you are looking at, house prices are
falling,
not good.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, what the seller's expectation is of what they can sell for versus what a buyer is going, no. Realistically, this is the number I'll pay for your house.
And I'm the only one here. Right? You know what I mean? Because that's the only way a buyer can do that is that they're the only one at your door.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? Because that means you have to deal with them. You can't just tell them to fuck off. Yeah. And I'll wait for my next one.
Exactly.
Because there
isn't a next one.
Remember summer 2022 when it was coming down and people would list the house thinking they would get 10 offers still. They were still in that mindset.
Yes.
You'd be on the market for 2 weeks and I know you did it because I did it. You call them and say, hey, you want to sell for 20 grand under?
Yeah.
And you would get the call back from the agent and they would say, hey, no. Yeah. If you don't want to pay the price, actually we want 20 grand more because we were expecting multiples.
Yeah.
And if you don't pay us this price, we're going to take it off and we're going to come back when we get this price.
Exactly.
And you would sit there and you go, can you do that? And then you say they can do that. Will that work? And you're like, I think it would. I think it would work. Like I think it'll. And then sure enough, you fast forward because that was 42 average price point. It definitely worked out for those sellers.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we're still in a seller's market.
Yeah.
It's still warm. So it's just this is pure speculation, right?
Absolutely.
But we're just trying to bring a little. I'm trying to like the whole point of this conversation is to bring a little insight into like what does it mean if a market crashes? I'll tell you what I got 2 ways a market crashes that we're in trouble.
Okay.
One, if sale to list price was 120%, but we were gaining inventory.
Right.
That would tell me we're in a bubble.
Yeah, because people are paying way over what the price should be.
That would be a bubble for me.
Because in theory, if you were doing that, we should be decreasing the inventory.
Exactly. Yes.
Which is what happened in 21-22.
21-22. Inventory was being just like eaten away
constantly, month
month
after month.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then price point was going up, but that was because the houses got valuable because we had less houses.
Yeah.
You know, we were one of one.
Yeah.
Beyonce would not be valuable if there was 10 million Beyoncés.
Exactly.
But there's one of one. That's why Beyonce, or we could say Taylor Swift for your kids.
There we go.
You know what I mean? Yeah. There's 10 million Taylor Swifts in the world. No one gives a shit about Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
But there's one of one. So my wife has been trying to get tickets to her concert for 3 months. We're in all the keys. So we're jumping over hoops to get tickets to Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Now, that would be what I would say, if we had 10 million Taylor Swifts and I'm in a queue to go see one Taylor Swift and I'm paying, the obscene amount for a ticket, I would look at that and go, I could just go see Taylor Swift 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
instead.
500,000, 599,102, that Taylor. That would be my concern of a bubble. Mm-hmm. If we had inventory rising,
but we were still overpaying.
We were still overpaying for houses. Yeah. I'd go, okay, that's to me is a problem. We have 2,000 units for sale now instead of 200. 10 exit. But we're still at 125%.
Yeah. Well, that's when also we would look at it and go, I don't understand. That makes no sense. And when we start going, that makes no sense, that would be a point of caution and worry.
See, and
because we'd be like, I can't explain that.
That would be a bubble to me.
Yeah.
That would be the bubble of like, we're in trouble because people are paying obscene amounts of money, but it's 10 buyers.
Yeah.
Because if you're getting inventory, that means there's less buyers.
Yeah.
So the people that are buying are seeing 5 houses and they're paying that much for one house.
Yeah.
That would be like, oh, this is weird.
Yeah.
Why would this individual do this?
Yeah.
What you're talking about in terms of list price coming down,
mm-hmm.
right? Because you get inventory back.
Yeah.
That to me is probably a crash.
Yeah.
Not a bubble. I think a bubble goes the other way, but a crash would be
that problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You inventory back, but prices are falling.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, that's the crash.
That's the crash. Because if you're arguing Halifax is in a bubble, okay, well, what does it mean to be in a bubble?
Yeah, that's a bubble is overinflation of price.
That's it. So if it's an overinflation of price, but we have nothing to sell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it an overinflation? But or if you go through the other way and go, I've got 2,000 units and they're all being sold 125% over list.
That's the bubble.
That's a bubble to me, right? So we weren't in a bubble. I don't think so anyway.
No, I don't think we never added inventory and went way over asking price.
You could argue, if you're looking at, Toronto, Vancouver, you could argue they're in a bubble. You could. Yeah. I think you can make the safe assumption just based on their home prices. Like if you're looking at Barrie.
Yeah, and stuff's not selling.
And stuff's not selling, so there's a correction then. But that's a correction. That's not bubble.
Yeah.
In my opinion, right? So if we're looking at a correction, I think we've had it. Now, I say that going into 2024 because who fucking knows? Mm-hmm. But you know what? Like, I'm not. You can see the logic though, right? Because if we're going into 2024 now, are we going to maintain inventory, lose inventory? We're going to gain inventory.
My feeling is we're still going to gain.
You think we're going to gain?
I think we're going to start gaining.
As rates come down, you think we're going to gain?
Right now, yeah. Because I think for the next 2 rate holds, let's go to May, I think there will be no change in interest rates. So I think, therefore, we will have more people putting their houses up for sale and not going crazy.
Well, you're coming into spring.
Yeah.
Coming into spring. So we always get our supply.
So we always get a spring bump of inventory.
It's like 80% of our supply for the year.
Yeah.
It's always like, it's a significant amount of homes that come to the market for spring.
So if the rates don't change, then I don't think we're going to get this mad rush of buyers.
Okay.
That might happen. I mean, it depends what they say in March. If March they go, okay, we're going to actually reduce. Because I don't think in January the Bank of Canada is going to reduce.
I'd be surprised.
They'll be like, yeah, we're still playing the caution game here. Well, let's just do nothing.
Yeah.
But in March, they might go, ooh, let's try this and see what happens if we reduce by a quarter or even a half point.
I would love just a quarter. Just a quarter.
Well, you got to test it. Like going a half, you're like, ooh, that's a bit ballsy. Like, hang on there, boys. Let's not go crazy here. Like, you want to do this softly. You don't want to be dropping half point, 1 points and stuff like that.
And that's my thing when it comes to this. And in terms of like the market crashing, like we've seen it. We've seen all the speculation, which is why I thought this article would be fun.
Yeah.
And I gave you a choice. You chose this. You chose this one. I gave you a choice.
Exactly. Shock and awe.
But when we're talking about it in terms of like what we've seen, definitely not a crash.
No.
Correction, I'll take a correction because it's just sounds.
It was soft as well.
It sounds soft, hard. And you didn't feel and like you could like the hardest it felt was this fall. Mm-hmm. That was the hardest that it felt was this past fall when we listed things that just didn't move and you got crickets.
Yeah, and you were like, what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it just didn't happen. Because we're used to the farm market being really busy and
yeah, true. Yeah.
And
spring and fall
running.
Yeah.
So I would say correction probably. In terms of the equation moving forward, supply and demand and rates is your magic combination.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Real estate.
Yeah, it's not straightforward and it's not that easy to figure out.
So okay,
Buy and hold.
I'm gonna put it to you one last time, and you can end this off. Will the Halifax real estate market crash? Has it crashed? Are we in a bubble? What's your summary of everything we just talked about?
Okay, not in a bubble.
Okay.
Correction has happened.
Okay.
Not going to crash going forwards.
Not going to crash going forwards.
No.
Maintain.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be like this year, price-wise, is going to be very interesting to watch.
Okay.
I don't see like a lot of increasing pricing going on.
For those listening that are curious and want more information, what statistics should they see and watch to let them know if the market is crashing, if we're in a bubble, or if we're sustaining?
Months of inventory on the market.
Okay.
Average sale price compared to average list price.
Okay. And
you could argue days on market as well, I suppose.
You could argue days on market's a very good indicator of where the market is. Yeah. Right? Because if you're at 4 days on market, we're all screwed.
Yeah. It's going crazy again.
Remember 2016 or 17 when it was like 125 days on market?
It was like, sign this listing agreement for 6 months.
Yeah.
Why? Because it might take that long.
Okay, so this is because it's the other thing, right? We're trying to educate people. So if we're trying to help people understand what's happening with the market, these stats, where should they go? I'm giving you a chance to plug because I know you do your stats. So where should they go to watch the stats?
There you go. So I'm pretty proud in the fact I think we're always the first video out YouTube at the start of a month to talk about stats for the previous month.
Okay.
So it's Halifax Homes and Lifestyles on YouTube.
It'll be in the details.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll be in the show notes. Don't worry. And I'm going to start doing it on the podcast.
Exactly.
The first of every month, I'm going to start releasing the market stats.
And going over what's
happening every month for about 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And we'll start.
Just a brief overview.
And I'm going to start doing videos again on my stuff that will just give an idea. So you can keep an eye on the market because this question, I don't think will ever go away.
No, not for quite a few years.
Yeah, I don't think this topic ever, especially the bubble conversation.
Oh yeah, that's always around
until it really, if it pops.
Yes.
If we're in a bubble and it pops, good God.
Yeah, yeah. All of a sudden, just wait till the podcast we do then.
We're broke. We're out of the job.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like back to accounting.
Yeah, yeah. You have a degree to go to.
Yeah. Very true.
Richard, always a pleasure. Thank you so much, my friend.
All right, take care.
All right, bye. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you can reach me at 902-220-7357 or jason@infinityrealestategroup.ca. And if you'd like to get in touch with Richard, you can reach him at 902-489-1804 or richard@richardpayne.ca. Thanks again. Bye.